This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. I am feeling pretty optimistic that people are taking notice of Prince Harry's involvement here with our Constitution. The Spectator today published this article titled, Dear Britain, Please Take Prince Harry Back, in which the author does acknowledge Prince Harry's involvement with our free speech and our First Amendment rights. Let's first quickly go through this article, and I have a couple things that I would like to add on to this concerning Prince Harry's visa that I think will be of interest of everyone. Lee Cohen writes, in the annals of recent royal history, few narratives have unfolded with as much drama and tumult as the saga of Prince Harry's departure from Britain. We, Americans, now find our country the official domicile of an entitled and disgruntled British prince. Harry filed documents last week to say so. I'm already hearing ruptures, cries from our British friends. He's yours now, and good riddance. We already have Joe Biden flinging open our border to the masses. Now, to add insult to injury, we have a guy who has made unwelcome intrusions into our domestic politics and seems to be having trouble with his visa application. Yep, this guy went there, and being that it is the Spectator, it's going to have a lot more eyes on it, hopefully, eyes from Washington. The Duke's recent change of primary residence from the UK to the US, backdated to June 29, 2023, the Sussex's departure date from Frogmore Cottage, marks not only a physical location, but a symbolic break from his family, nation, and heritage, none of which seems to preoccupy him. His decision, driven by purported safety concerns, seems more likely to be fueled by anger, frustration, and shame to the point where the Duke has even considered adopting American citizenship. It is astonishing that a prince of the blood would even flirt with accepting foreign citizenship, but Harry is an outlier in so many senses. His abandonment of royal duties and flight across the Atlantic represent not only a rupture in the fabric of the royal family, but it leaves a void in a threadbare bench of working royals sadly challenged by illness. So, too, it lets down a nation that could make use of his service, where that service deemed fit for purpose. Once regarded as a beloved member of the royal family, Harry's gradual estrangement from his homeland has naturally put off many Britons. Reactions across traditional and social media hardly conceal support for marginalization of the disruptive and distracting Sussexes from Britain. The prince's actions defy belief. On the one hand, he claims to love his family, but in his autobiography, he savages them mercilessly. He stood by while his wife accused his family of racism. He exposed private information, and through publication of his memoir, even disrespected his beloved grandparents. How can the Duke ever be forgiven considering his actions look like an appalling breach of trust? He must never be allowed to do so again. Now firmly ensconced in the USA alongside his wife, Meghan Markle, Harry assured the broadcast Good Morning America he was loving every single day in the US. But this sentiment does not flow automatically the other way. While American gossip tabloid audience follow every new Sussex branding scheme with bated breath, many of us view their exploits with eye-rolling disdain. Their penchant for creating distraction, chaos, and controversy wherever they go is intolerable. Nor does America need yet another coin-operated B-list celebrity wading into politics. No wonder the couple have become the butt of jokes, from cartoons to comedians, for it is risible, no, preposterous, for lifestyle brand influencers and unsettled foreign princes to inveigh on election misinformation, paid family leave, or America's free speech protections. Allegations surrounding the disclosure of illegal substance use in the Duke's autobiography have triggered an investigation into the handling of his U.S. visa, raising questions about Harry's handling of the application and the Biden administration's review of his case. So fine, Britain has had enough of its unhappy former golden boy. But here in America, we're not far behind in our feelings. We share the same revulsion when someone appears to sell out one's family for profit. Moreover, in America, Hard work and talent are prized commodities. If the Sussexes' Hollywood experience is any indication, they are sorely lacking in both of these qualities. The suggestion that they are talentless grifters will stick with the pair forever. Now, having bit too many times the hand that fed them, Harry and Meghan find themselves casting about for relevance and purpose, selling jam but without Jerusalem. As Prince Harry newly affirms the USA as his place of residence, many Brits are rejoicing. Evermore, Americans are less cheerful. The common sense of Nigel Farage springs to mind. After Harry's 2021 assault on the U.S. Constitution's commitment to free speech, he tweeted, "For Prince Harry to condemn the USA First Amendment shows he has lost the plot. Soon, he will not be wanted on either side of the pond." And here we are. This writer really nails it, and I'm glad that he is putting Harry on blast by exposing his involvement with our constitutional rights as well as getting involved with our politics. I do think that there's still a lot more work that needs to be done, and this visa situation is more serious than people really understand. It's not just about whether or not he lied on his application. I think that there is a big cover up going on, and that's my opinion based off of what I've been seeing and his involvement with the 2020 elections and the interference that we've had on our First Amendment rights. So, a couple of things that I would like to point out. So, one is this date of 6/29/2023. It is being reported that he backdated this information to when they announced that they were being evicted from Frogmore Cottage. Well, here's the thing, folks. One, this doesn't indicate whether or not he is legitimately a permanent resident here in the United States. This doesn't really mean much, in my opinion. This date that was put or backdated when they posted this on 4/15/2024, and for all we know, this could be a lie. I'm leaning towards the fact that it is a lie because we know how Meghan and Harry like to carefully control the narrative and the optics. It just so happens that the day that he does his like travelist pep talk, all of a sudden someone finds that he changed his residency. Don't you think that that was intentional? This is the Sussex PR machine working at its best. Back on June 29, 2023, it was the Sussex camp who were pushing out these puff pieces announcing this being evicted from Frogmore Cottage and having like In Style, Vogue, Cosmopolitan, People magazine all report on it. When this situation actually happened back at the end of February 2023. So, why you have to ask yourself this question: why are they repeating something that was already released to the media that most likely came from the palace because it was announced via the BBC of Meghan and Harry having to turn their keys back in and Prince Harry no longer having a place of residence at that moment in the UK, which then questioned his Councilor of State status and if he was still in line to take over for the king. The Sussex PR machine, as well as the media right now, look like idiots, in my opinion. When you see this updated document here for Travelists enlisting Prince Harry's updated residence as the United States, it's not saying that Prince Harry has turned his back on the UK and that now he's cut off all ties. Doesn't mean that he's not Councilor of State. Here is the manipulation, I should say. Being that the PR machine is positioning and twisting this, perhaps maybe this is part of swaying the judge around his visa status. We'll get to that in a second. But this is to paint an optic. We'll get into that in a second. But first, I want everybody to understand the difference between residence and domicile. So, according to the Global Residence Index, there is a difference between domicile versus residence. Okay, so in the legal world, governments consider domicile as an important legal status for someone having close ties to the country. Even if one moves from their domicile of origin, their principal home can remain the same. On the other hand, governments see residence as something that is not as formal. An individual can have multiple residences depending on where they reside. Domicile refers to a person's permanent legal residence, which is the place where they have the most significant connections, such as family, property ownership, and not in this case for Harry, but voting registration. Now, the deeper understanding of residence, on the other hand, refers to where someone lives or resides temporarily or permanently. It can refer to a physical location, such as a house or an apartment, or a broader area, such as a city or country, just like what we saw with the update with Travelist. It says here, a person's residence is typically determined by where they spend some of their time and where they have legal residency. Residence can still have legal implications, such as choosing a person's eligibility for certain benefits or services based on where they reside. In a broader sense, it can refer to someone's overall sense of belonging or attachment to a particular place. The primary difference between residency and domicile is a person can have multiple residences. A residence is a more flexible temporary concept. A person's residence can change frequently and have numerous residences simultaneously. Regarding legal status, a domicile is often considered more formal and legally significant than a residence. Domicile determines the legal rights and obligations, such as tax liabilities, inheritance rights, and eligibility for certain benefits or services. So now, when you look at Prince Harry changing his residence to the United States, understand that he's not changing his domicile because that would require a lot more effort. Come on now, how many of you think that Prince Harry wants to pay US taxes? I highly doubt that he has given up his domicile to be US domiciled. This is, I believe, just residence, and that's all it is. Perhaps maybe for getting benefits, as we know they like to grift and probably mooch more off of our government. But in any case, when you look at this angle from domicile perspective, Harry's still part of being this Councilor of State. Now, according to the 2024 Parliament document regarding the rules and the explanation about the Councilor of State, it says here, who are the Councilors of State? Under the 1937 Act, Councilors of State are the wife or husband of the monarch, if applicable, and the four persons who, excluding those disqualified under the Act from becoming regent, are next in the line of succession to the throne. If there are fewer than four people in the line for the throne, then all are Councilors of State. The Councilors of State Act 2022 increased the number of people who may be called upon to act as Councilors of State by adding two named members of the royal family, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and the Duke of Edinburgh. Scrolling down, it says under the 1937 Act, a Councilor of State must be domiciled in some part of the United Kingdom. The concept of domicile is derived from common law, as the explanatory notes to the Councilors of State Bill explained. Everyone receives a domicile at birth. This is known as a domicile of origin. Every independent person can at any time change their domicile of origin and acquire a domicile of choice by the fact of residing in a country other than that of their domicile of origin with the intention of continuing to reside there indefinitely. There is a strong presumption against a change from a domicile of origin to a domicile of choice. Now, here they get to Prince Harry. On this basis, the Duke of Sussex is eligible to act as a Councillor of State as his domicile of origin remains England and Wales despite him residing in the United States. If his domicile were to change, then he would be replaced by the next person of full age in the line of succession, which is currently Princess Eugenie. Sorry, UK, you're still stuck with this man child. Do you really think that he would give up his last position and connection to the royal family? Absolutely not. And I think until there's an official announcement, which, assuming if Harry does change his domicile to the United States, then I think Parliament or even the royal family website would update to reflect as such with Princess Eugenie's name. King Charles, he added two more people to Councilors of State. Notice they didn't remove Harry from the list. So, what I think is happening, and this is just me speculating based off of watching everything that this couple has been doing for the last couple of years, is that this was for the optics because of this visa situation and the deep shit that Prince Harry's going to be in should the Heritage Foundation blow open wide his involvement with the Biden regime and participating in the censorship industrial complex when He's not a registered foreign agent, as well as if his visa does state that he is over here on a diplomat A1 special visa, in which he's getting all the special benefits and privileges of being a head of state, then you know America is going to flip out. Now, I'm not sure if this is related, but when you look at the log for this lawsuit against DHS to get Harry's visa information, there are certain dates here with milestones that do make me question on why did Prince Harry choose that date of 6/29 when he could have used the date back in February when it was announced that he was being evicted from Frogmore. Yeah, as you look at this log, it shows that on 6/28/2023, the judge is mandating that a status report of certain documents, which, is between this group, on presenting by July 7th, in which DHS had asked for extension. But in any case, I find it really coincidental that on 6/28 all of this was mandated, and then on 6/29 all of a sudden we hear news that Prince Harry has been evicted, when it was already announced. So him backdating and putting 6/29 on that travel list, I'm not sure if they're trying to cook up some type of plan to show, hey, look, I'm here on a work visa and I'm running this business because my visa is a B1 of some sort. I feel like there's some shucking and jiving going on behind the scenes in which they're trying to come up with some type of narrative to spin this in a way that doesn't get Harry deported, because what he was doing here in 2020 was illegal. He should not have been interfering with our election and then working on the back end to fund and support organizations that have been deliberately trying to censor Americans' free speech, not only for elections, but also around COVID. Look at the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit. All those organizations listed there are all organizations in which Harry and Meghan have been aligned with and continue to align with. So is it possible that he wants to give off this impression that, oh, he's here and he has residence, and because he has residence, then he should be able to speak in politics and so forth? I think that that's part of it. I think this narrative that they're trying to create now is trying to cover up what he was originally over here doing. And again, I reiterate that the monarchy had some idea, at least King Charles, Prince Charles at the time, knew that his son was coming over here to go up to Silicon Valley and work with these people. There's no way that they couldn't have known, because at the time he had security, which included MI6, Scotland Yard, their personal security detail. They had to have a level of coordination, especially after they announced Megxit. They were flying off to Stanford, Harvard, Florida. Y'all remember that, right? Obviously, there's a certain amount of coordination and planning that they have to do with the host country to make sure that they're safe. And there's no doubt that the Queen and most likely Prince Charles kept tabs on them through their own people reporting back to them. So it's not like they were totally kept in the dark. I would find it hard to believe that Prince Charles at the time didn't have an idea of what his son was about to get into. I'm not saying that Prince Charles was okay with his son getting involved with speaking about our elections and voting. No, I don't think that that was his thoughts. I think that he understood his son coming over here to try and attempt to change the media landscape, in which that interview that he did with Tom Bradby, he had specifically stated that his father said to him that he was going on a suicide mission, which I think now in hindsight, looking at it, his father might be right, especially if mainstream media picks up on the fact that he has been a part of this censorship industrial complex and violating Americans' First Amendment rights. America is going to be extremely pissed off and are going to chase him out of this country for sure. People are not going to take lightly to him coming over here and trying to trample on Americans' freedoms. That's not going to fly over too well. Ever since Megxit, it's always bothered me that the palace did absolutely nothing when Meghan and Harry were inserting themselves into political areas like our election in 2020 and not say anything about it. Especially since our congressman wrote to the Queen before the election to tell her that we didn't appreciate it. The fact that it was ignored makes me wonder, were they on board supporting what these two had been doing in efforts to make sure that Donald Trump did not get voted in again? This was not just a national effort, this was a global effort with our election. I guarantee that multiple countries had been involved in trying to make sure that Donald Trump didn't get back in. We're seeing this all play out now as to the forces that are against him to ensure that he doesn't get elected into a second term because of what he represents, which is representing the people and giving us back our country. Right now, we're being sold up the river. And you know that. I don't need to go into that anymore. But this Agenda 2030, is it working out for any of us middle class? No, it's not. Who is it benefiting? It's benefiting the rich. Anyhow, that brings me to what Lady Victoria has been saying over the last couple of days about Harry not being deported because of Meghan's ties to the deep state. Now, I agree with Lady Victoria. Meghan does have ties or did have ties to the deep state, but I also think that Prince Harry is also tied to the deep state because he's been compromised. As he's been over here in the United States, I do feel that the United States now sees him as an asset. I also think that initially Meghan was sent in there, just like what Lady Victoria is saying, as some sort of spy.
What do you think of the Harry and Meghan situation?
I think it's not a good situation. I think he's completely blinded.
Could she be a plant?
So I always said this, and I even said this to a journalist friend of mine a couple of years ago, and they wouldn't write the story. I even gave it to the Sun newspaper. They're like, we can't write this. But I literally feel like she's like a spy.
Listen, it's a
I feel like she's a government asset. Like having close ties with Obama and the Clintons is like a red flag to me.
I wouldn't say she is an asset to the CIA, but I do think that she was doing a little alignment with the demon rats in order to pull Harry out of there. And however this has gone down, I do think that there is something going on with these globalists in which there is a power dynamic struggle. So although they all are globalists, I do think that the very top are now fighting to contain control. And perhaps maybe that's where the monarchy is in jeopardy, because now we're seeing all these superpowers trying to transform all of us and enslave us. And perhaps maybe that's not jiving with what is going on with this institution. I don't know, I'm just putting that out there. These are just all my thoughts and speculation. I don't have any evidence of it, but I do know that Harry's involvement with our government is not okay. And that is something that we need to stay on top of and to make sure that he does not have any more influence here, because this is not why we fought a war. And quite frankly, I enjoy living in the land of the free and don't want to be enslaved in a place where people like Meghan and Harry are telling me what I need to eat and where I can go and what I can do and what I can own. In fact, like they really need to shut the F up and go away, in my humble opinion. But what do you guys think? As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe and I will talk to you later. Bye.
You're such a fraud.